quick second for folks to come in. For those of you that are just joining, I'm going to launch a poll. If you would be so kind as we're waiting for everybody to jump in, if you would be so kind as to give us some feedback to the poll, we'd really appreciate that. Awesome, thank you guys so much. I see some familiar names joining us. Hi, Cody Nichols. Hi, Jackie, Jamie. Sean, how are you? Thanks for being with us today. All right, we're gonna get started. Again, I'll keep the poll going for just a little bit longer for everybody to have a chance to join us. Again, welcome to 50 Strong. My name is Candy Tillman. We do these sessions every week. So for those of you that have not been with us before, I'm going to take just a couple of minutes to give you a little bit of background on 50 Strong. I would like to give a very special shout out to our university partners. Those are the University of Arizona, the University of South Florida, University of South Carolina, and the Texas A&M University System. Also, thank you to our corporate sponsors who are helping make this entire series possible. And those partners are Deloitte, Amazon, Tech Systems, and ADP. We are super excited that today's session actually features some amazing champions from ADP. We've been in the background just getting prepped for this for a couple of minutes and been having a great time. So I'm excited to introduce you to the crew in just a second. What I would like to do is I'm going to hold introductions of the ADP crew for just a second. Let me give a little bit of background to why we are doing this and kind of a little bit about why Kevin and I do this every week. We know that navigating civilian employment can be pretty complicated for folks that are used to military norms. What we hope is that a warm connection and direct exposure to those in industry can make a big difference when we're navigating what I think of as a brave new world. We also know, we partner with universities specifically because transition is something that we talk about a lot in this space. And for many service members that choose to go into full-time education after the military, this transition is extended. And so we just want to have an opportunity to be able to support that journey. A little bit about us. My name is Candy again. My background is almost 20 years in corporate America, e-commerce, marketing strategy at some really big companies, also doing consulting with a lot of smaller companies. About 3 years ago, I dove face first into the veteran services arena. And I think because of my background, I really focused heavily on the workforce development space. And a lot of this is because over the years of meeting my husband, who was a transitioning veteran when I met him, and seeing his journey, but also seeing the journeys of lots of other service members really kind of compelled me to just learn what I could about the space. So I'd like to introduce my husband, Kevin. Kevin, do you mind to just say hello and share a little bit about your background? Kev, I think you might be on mute.
Perfect. Well, at least I wasn't cursing, so that's good. Again, I'm Kevin Tillman. Definitely nice to meet everybody. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Candy, for getting this thing going. The ADP team for joining. Really excited to have you guys here to communicate your experience and ADP and how it can help the veteran, the transitioning veterans. My background, I was in the Army. I was over at Range Battalion up at Fort Lewis, Washington. I got out about, I think it was 2005. I had a college degree, did some sports, and then went into the military. I was pretty confident that I would get out and find a job that would be, a nice, fulfilling career job. And I didn't worry about it too much. I lacked any clue about what it was like to actually work for a company, what the companies offered, how to get a company, how to do a resume, how to put a tie on. I mean, you name it. I couldn't do it correctly, and I just didn't understand it. Candy ended up helping me out quite a bit, navigating the waters, connecting with people. Eventually, got a job over at Lockheed Martin, and I knew Lockheed Martin was part of the MIC, the military industrial complex. I just knew what they did. They had a job opportunity, kind of the lowest level, and I took it. And it was the best thing that happened. I didn't know the details of it. And I'm looking at ADP, and ADP is huge. I mean, you guys can speak for ADP as far as, almost 1 million companies that you service, everything you do. And these are all, if you're not into I'm not into payroll, or you guys doing anything HR, it's a technology company, and there's all kinds of jobs inside of ADP, which they'll communicate. But the ability to chat with this team of people to help you, even if ADP doesn't kind of ring with you, they're going to communicate what a lot of other companies will. And it's just a great opportunity to hear what they have to say and get your foot in the door. My experience is different than the ADP team. We talked about it before. Most of them have been in 10, 20 plus years. I wasn't in the military for very long. And so I was running around with a gun. So for me, it's different than someone like the crew that's on here, but they can help provide some really good perspective. And I'm just grateful that everybody's on, from the veterans to ADP. And Candy, thanks for having me as always.
Awesome. Thanks, Kev. So a little bit of background. Again, the ADP team is with us today. Thank you again so much for being here. All of our employer partners are actively hiring military-seeking employers. And I know that because I'm working with them every single day. Maybe one of these national companies is a good fit for you, maybe not. That's okay. Either way, what we hope is that the repetitive exposure to lots of different types of companies and to folks inside of those companies can help to provide tools for your own job search. I mentioned our university partners. I just want to again give a shout out to our 4 university partners that are working with us every week. These are universities that are leaning in to say, we want to look for new and additional ways to provide career readiness support to our students, but importantly, not just to those that are in our institutions, but how can we be really good community partners? So again, I know Cody Nichols at the University of Arizona has joined us today. Cody, thank you for being here as always. But again, I just am so appreciative to our 4 university partners. There's 2 other really important strategic partners that I want to mention today. One of those is Veterati. Veterati is an amazing resource that folks in industry have already said, yep, I've got an hour cleared on my calendar to talk with any veteran or service member or spouse that just wants to get some support and some insight. If you are not already using Veterati, I highly encourage you to do it to help you find your own tribe of mentors. And our second strategic partner that I want to mention is DoD SkillBridge. For those of you that are active duty that are out there, and I just looked at our poll, it looks like almost half the people on this call are still active duty. Thank you so much for joining us. The exposure that you're going to hear from this team is going to be amazing. But number one thing that I can encourage you to do is please take every advantage of DoD SkillBridge. I have been in this space for 3 years, and it is the most important thing that I think can be of so much help to your journey. We did a whole 50 strong session on DoD SkillBridge on September 17th. The replay is on our website. I highly encourage you to check that out if you are active duty. Again, just a little bit more about our sessions. Again, we have these sessions every Thursday. It looks like half of you are joining us for the first time today, so thank you so much for being here. This is a 15-week series of sessions. We are on week 8. So here's the important thing. We know that you are all busy. We know that sometimes it doesn't work out for you to join us live. We post the unedited session replays on our website within 24 hours. So if you missed any of those sessions, please go back and check them out. The replays that we have available are from our first week. We did a whole session on leveraging LinkedIn. We heard from our university partners. We had the CEO of Veterati on to join us. We also have had sessions with Amazon, the military affairs team, Deloitte, Procter & Gamble, Mayo, U-Haul. You can see the SkillBridge session there. On September 24th, we had Microsoft and Tech Systems in. And then last week, we had the entire Amazon military affairs team back in, and we did mock interview sessions. So again, please check out any of those replays that may be of help. Next week, we are delighted that we're going to have folks from Johnson & Johnson and JB Hunt. The week after that, on October 29th, we are going to have Booz Allen Hamilton. And the week after that, on November 5th, we will have the team from Wells Fargo join us. Sean Passmore, I think you're on today. Thank you so much for being here. Really quickly before we do introductions, I see a bunch of folks blowing up the chat box. Listen, we love that. This session is just as much for you out there to meet other attendees that are joining in. The chat box, if you want to drop in your LinkedIn URL profile, that would be awesome. There's mine there. I accept all connection requests from service members, veterans, and military spouses. So please, if you have a LinkedIn URL that you want to drop in there, go ahead and do that. If you don't know how to do that, I'm going to show you that in just a second. The Q&A box is for you to send messages to the speakers only. So if you have questions specifically for our panelists, go ahead and drop them into the Q&A box. Last thing on housekeeping that I want to share. We live about 10 minutes from Luke Air Force Base. And so periodically the jets are going to come over. If they come over during the session, then we'll just go on mute or we'll all listen to the sounds together. But just wanted to mention that. All right, so really quickly, for those of you that may not know how to find your LinkedIn URL profile, again, we did a whole session on leveraging LinkedIn. It was our very first session. You can check out that replay. But the way that you can find your profile, your URL for your profile, is to click on your picture, hit view profile, go to contact info, and you'll see your URL. You can also customize that, which we talked about in that first session. So if you want help on how to do that, just check that out. All right, so again, welcome to the ADP team. I'm gonna stop our screen share so that you can see everybody at once. How are you guys?
Good.
Awesome.
Great, doing well.
All good.
So for everybody that's listening in, the ADP team is here. We have got a whole bunch of experience. All of these folks are veterans. We are a little bit heavy. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Army guys, Army veterans with us today, and Walt is our standalone Navy guy. So guys, thank you all for joining us. We're gonna just stop the slides for a little bit and just have some open dialogue. I would love it if you could just each introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about your transition, maybe what your first job was, and a little bit about what you do today. That would be wonderful. And we'll just have some open dialogue. For those of you out there that are listening, if you have Q&A that you want to pop into the Q&A box, we'll also try to keep an eye on that. So Harris, do you mind to kick us off?
Happy to. So thank you, Candy, and thanks, Kevin, for having us on here and giving us the opportunity to talk to everybody. We really do appreciate your partnership and in all the things that we're doing together. So, and thanks to the ADP team, obviously, for joining as well. So real quickly on my background, I was a 21-year Army officer. I retired in 2012. As I said, I was an armor officer, and to your point earlier, Kevin, there's not a whole lot of places to go as a tanker out in corporate America. I was looking, I couldn't find it. So, I too was in your shoes at one time trying to figure out what my next chapter was going to be. Currently, I run the Veterans Initiative for ADP. And so I oversee, our veteran hiring. I help out with that. I work closely with our talent acquisition team. And then I also work very closely with our military strong business resource group around the country. So, those are kind of the things that I did. When I got out, I had to figure out what I was going to do. I went the route of going back to where my wife was from, which took me to New Jersey, which is where I work now. As I kind of went through that, I made a choice to go into the financial industry as my first job when I got out, just because that's what you do in New York, I thought. I don't know that I put enough thought into it. It was a great experience. Learned a lot. Learned a lot of what I didn't know. And, you know, did that for about 6 years and had the opportunity to come over to ADP and been here for, you know, 2.5 years already. Love what I do, love the company, and, you know, we'll let the others talk. We'll talk up more about ADP, obviously.
Thank you so much, Harris. Well, I'm going to let you introduce yourself next, if you don't mind. Harris, I appreciate you being here. I have the pleasure of working with Harris almost every day at this point. So Harris, thank you so much for everything that you're doing.
Thanks.
That's awesome. All right. Thank you for the segue there. First of all, good morning, or I guess afternoon for everybody now. Welcome. Thank you to all of you guys for your service, for joining the call, and for really taking some initiative in your career. And I want to make sure I'm not only calling out the active duty and the veterans, but also the spouses on this call, because you guys are serving right there alongside those folks that have put the time into the military too. It's definitely a family effort. So thank you for that. My name is Walt McKinley. I'm a 20-year veteran. I started 10 years of my career, was enlisted on the intelligence side in the Navy. So if you got some jokes, you can tell me later. I've heard them all probably. And then I spent 10 years on the officer side and then retired after 20 years. And so I've been all around the world. I've been in your guys' shoes before 4.5 years ago. Wasn't that long ago for me. And where you've spent a career, whether it's a shorter duration or longer duration, you reach a point where you're getting ready to transition and you have this, oh crap moment. See, I kept it clean, guys. You guys see what I did there? You have this, oh crap moment. I don't know that I'm really as prepared as I thought. And it's scary and it's exciting. With COVID, it's another layer of complexity in this unprecedented times. And so I think all of us that have made that transition on this call feel where you guys are at. And we definitely understand it. So please reach out to us on LinkedIn, because we can definitely help guide you in the process. So my current role at ADP is I'm the Senior Director of Services for major accounts. We'll talk a little bit about that as Harris goes through some of the slides. I've been with ADP 2.5 years. I did another stint in another company for about 2 years before I came here. I loved it. It was fantastic, and I learned a lot. And I'll tell you guys, when I retired, I thought, people said, what do you want to do? And I was like, I just love leading, developing teams, and building culture. That's my jam. It's what I do. Let's go. And they were like, okay, yeah, that's great. Like, but what do you want to do? And so I've been in your guys' seat. So I really narrowed it down to location or industry. Spent 20 years on the East Coast. And so I wanted to come back to Arizona, where my family's from. And then I used my very small network that I had at the time to at least get an interview for a role. So when we talk about network, we talk about the value, we talk about companies like 50strong who are just forging the path, SkillBridge. All of those things are uber valuable, team. I got to tell you guys that. And it's imperative that you lean on these resources, not only to take away some of that angst you might be feeling, but also get your foot in the door where you can show the best you. What I'll tell you is the skills that you guys have around soft skills and leadership and decision making, whether you've been in 4 years or 20 years, people would pay thousands of dollars to learn those skills. And it's something sometimes you only get if you served. And so what I'll tell you is those soft skills are going to parallel your career. The challenge is, how do you take those soft skills and then supplement those with these hard skills you're going to need to learn in order to be successful? We can help bridge some of that. SkillBridge is a phenomenal program to get you some insight, get you some hard skills, and really prepare you to fully make that transition. So I'm excited to be here. Welcome everybody. You can tell this is my jam. I get jacked up over this stuff. So I'm excited to hear from you.
Listen, well, I just have to say, I love that you called out leading and developing and building culture, but there's this whole other piece beyond that, because you guys are all opening roles to meet a business need, right? And so a lot of that is great, but you got to be able to demonstrate how you can meet that business need. So Walt, I really, really appreciate you making that comment.
Thanks.
Dustin, Nick, Bob, I'll let any of you jump in that would like to jump in.
Hey, I'll go ahead and jump in.
Awesome.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Candy Captain. It was an absolute honor to be asked to be on this panel. Super pumped about it. So my career with the military has been a little bit different than these guys. I was never active duty. I was always in the National Guard sector. I did 11 years in the Ohio Army National Guard. Deployed twice, went to Afghanistan for a year and a half, and then went to Jordan for a year. Most recently in 2017, 2018, I was in Jordan. I wised up this past summer and decided to make a change. So I switched over to the Air National Guard, and it's a lot different. Nobody's told me to like F off or anything since I've been in. So it's a little different than being in the Army. So it's pretty great so far. So I have a bachelor's degree from Bowling Green State University, and that's where I moved after I got back from my first tour to Afghanistan. All my best friends from high school lived here, and I'm now the only one left. They all left. I ended up meeting my wife here in VG. So we live here and have two beautiful children. So my role with Ricoh and ADP is to provide a lot of different resources and support to veterans and veteran spouses. So I can act as a liaison between you and the hiring manager to let you know how the interview went, whether or not you could have done something better, or if you got it, I can provide you with that great information. I can also assist with some interview preparation to use some military jargon. I'm gonna caveat off what Walt said, and I'm gonna say that I can also help with some your resume. I know even with me being in the National Guard, it's so difficult to really explain all the different things that you've done in the military for a civilian employment to really know all the things that you truly did and the skills that you really have. So I'd be happy to help any of you with that kind of thing. If you want to reach out to me on LinkedIn, I'm going to put my personal email in the chat as well, and you're more than welcome to reach out to me. So thanks so much for letting me be here.
Can I just, hey, Dustin, on that note, for those of you that are out there listening, I often hear from recruiters, hey, I've given my personal LinkedIn, hey, I've given my email. And too often, people don't follow up. So when Dustin is basically saying, here's my information, like, take him up on it, right? I promise you that being proactive is gonna definitely benefit.
All right, I guess it's my turn. So my name's Nick Garner. Thanks, Candy and Kevin for having me here. I spent 22 years in the Army as an infantryman. I was an infantry non-commissioned officer. I retired, and I did one of the few things that folks want infantry guys to do. I ended up working for a big defense contractor running a range while I was finishing up my undergrad, and I quickly decided that that's not where I wanted to be. I was working on my business degree, and I really decided that corporate America was where I wanted to make the jump to. Defense contracting, it's volatile. You can come to work one day and your contract was canceled. To no fault of your own. It happened to me. It happened to my wife. So as I did that, I finished up. I went on to grad school. I went to Texas A&M Commerce for my MBA. Go Lions. I really knew that corporate America is where I wanted to be, and so I set my sights on that. And I was on a virtual job fair one day, and it was ADP was there, and I got to interact with the recruiters there, and I ended up coming in as a leader at ADP in SBS, the Small Business Services, and it was a great place to join the company. I had a team of 17 people, and we were taking care of our small business clients and their payroll, and it really got me to learn the business of what ADP does at the small business level. And it just really was a great place to jump into corporate America. I had a lot of support locally, and I founded the El Paso chapter of the Military Strong, our business resource group. Enjoyed that, did that for about a year. And one day I'm going through the job openings and on the site, and there's one it says military recruiter. And I looked at it, and I called the hiring manager, and he was like, hey, I'm not the guy to talk to. So he gave me to someone else, and we started having a conversation. He's like, well, it's really more of a program manager's role, and this is what it entails. And he and I talked, and he was like, yeah, you need to go apply. So I did. Went through the interview process, found out I was the program manager for Pepsi's frontline veteran hiring. And that's what I do. So I Yeah, I consult with the team at Pepsi. I help them out with strategy. I do hiring events, whether it's virtual or I travel a lot. Dustin and I have hit events together for Pepsi. I work with their hiring manager, their D&I. I do a lot of stuff. I'm on LinkedIn all the time. If anyone wants to link up with me on LinkedIn, I'm a Veterati mentor. As soon as we're done on this, I'll update my calendar, make sure I've got some more availabilities on there. I can say that mentorship is one of the things that really helped me make that transition. Whether it was my battle buddy at ADP, who I just hit me up on LinkedIn, he was the guy who really helped me get my feet on the ground at ADP. He wasn't a veteran, but he was a guy with a lot of product knowledge. It really helped me get into the ADP culture. Another one is American Corporate Partners. They paired me up with a mentor. I only filled out a few questions in the thing. I don't know how they found Scott, my mentor, but they could have picked a better mentor for me. He worked for Deloitte. He was a jiu-jitsu guy. He was, into rifles and stuff. And so it was just, he gave me a lot of insight into the corporate world. And that also kind of eased my transition into corporate America. And then Veterati has been something that I really found good value in. At other times I thought maybe I wanted to go into different fields, and talking to Veterati mentors, some of them I learned, no, I didn't want to go in that field. And then others really helped me along. And I've actually got to meet some of them in person as I travel for work. I've dropped in on some of my Veterati mentors, and it's been great to sit down and, have a meal with them or a cup of coffee. And I really encourage folks to make use of that.
Hey, Nick, quick question for you. We had a question come in. I think the question was meant for Walt, and it says, leading and developing teams is my jam too. How did you translate that to a section of civilian industry? And Walt, I'm guessing part of the answer, and I'll let you take that in a second, but part of the answer may be what Nick just talked about, which is talking to lots of people about the types of jobs that they do to just help get that exposure that you may not have from the military. So Nick and Walt, maybe would you mind to just chat about that, like how you kind of went from leading and developing to a specific role?
Yeah, absolutely. Nick, I'll let you go first since you were just talking.
Sure.
I'll let you continue the dialogue.
Okay. I can talk all day, so I'll keep it brief. It's really finding what you want to lead people doing. And I have this conversation every day, and I hear exactly what Walt said, and I kind of tell people, it's like, look, imagine if you were to go to the athletic director at the University of Alabama, Roll Tide, and told him, I want
to,
right. But saying, I want to be a coach. Well, what do you mean? I like coaching athletes. I want to make the team better. Well, what sport do you want to coach? We do them all here. Right. And, someone say, well, we did athletics in the Army, right? We ran, we played sports, we did this. So I want to be a coach. So I tell people it's kind of the same thing, but in talking to other people out there in what they do, it'll really help out, because you'll find out kind of where your area of emphasis is or what industry you want to be in. I got lucky. I have what I think is the greatest job at ADP, like by far. I am the veteran, guy for Pepsi, and I encourage veterans to get out there and talk to people in all different fields, because you may find that thing for you. You might like finance, you might like HR, you might like recruiting, or, you might like insurance. I don't know, but get out there and talking to people and figuring it out is the way to go.
That's right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'd like to just expound upon that. I think there's a lot of value in what you just said, Nick. There's a couple different things. One is there's great resources, right? You got us on this call. You have ACP. I had a fantastic ACP mentor when I was stationed in DC. And then you have Veterati, which is another amazing resource. And so you've got some veteran-focused resources that have made the transition that can help you figure out what it is you really want to do. And then once you get an opportunity in a company, you don't have to align with somebody that's a veteran. I think that's the easiest answer. But to Nick's point, his mentor wasn't even a veteran, but they still helped assimilate into culture, understand the data analytics, the things that go behind being an operational leader, if that's the direction you're headed. And I'll be honest with you guys, I looked at location first instead of industry. And the reason I did that is because it was most important for me to come back home to Arizona. And then from that point, I just needed somebody to give me an opportunity because SkillBridge wasn't really a hot thing 4.5 years ago. So it's really great to see it now. And once I got the opportunity, it gave me in operations, which is the easy answer because it's operations, which covers a lot. It gave me an opportunity to really look at data analytics, strategic thinking, decisions I was making that would affect the revenue stream 8 steps down the line. And without having mentors and without having some people to help guide me, I wouldn't even be where I'm at now. And the reason I'm at ADP is because I love mentorship. And one of the 5 groups I had at the company I was at previously, a manager that was adjacent to one of those got a job at ADP. I mentored him by proxy because I love it. And he called me 6 weeks into his role and said, there's a senior director role at ADP. You got to come. I loved where I was at. I was like, sure, I'll check it out. And next thing you know, I was at ADP because I love what the company stood for from a diversity and inclusion perspective, integrity perspective, global leader in what they do. They had a military strong community to help me assimilate into the ADP culture. And so I think for me, guys, it's really the number one key for me is humility. I went from leading global operations for the Navy's Human Intelligence Program to being an assistant director in a company managing a couple groups. And so, but that's why I talk about the soft skills will propel you exponentially. If you're open, you're willing to learn, you listen, you take feedback, adjust fire, and keep moving. Those are the things that's going to help you be successful. So if you're passionate about an industry, you need to chase industry and make contacts and engage people in the industry. If you're passionate about location, engage location first. So you need to figure one of those 2 things out in order to start and align your search with what direction you want to head.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Walt and Nick, for just kind of jumping in on that. You guys, last but not least, I'd like to introduce Bob Lockett. We are so honored to have Chief Talent Officer for ADP with us today. Bob, do you mind to just say hello and introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Bob. I'm done. No, I'm joking, of course. I do have a bit of a story to tell. So first of all, I am so glad that we have this opportunity to do this with Kevin and Candy. By the way, I've always appreciated folks who stepped up to the plate to help veterans find veteran spouses and the like, find great opportunities in corporate America. That's been sort of, the path that I actually was on my entire career. So a little bit about me, and then I'll certainly hit a couple points I want to make sure I emphasize for you guys. So I got out of the Army a long time ago. 95 is when I got out of the Army, and we didn't have all these great tools. We had TAP classes, and of course, in TAP class, they're trying to tell you to go do certain things. And I was like, well, that's not really what I want to go do. So I was fortunate enough to go link up with some folks through some of the junior military officer recruiting firms. But let me tell you, I was an artillery guy, Desert Storm vet, commanded an MLRS battery in Germany, was direct support artillery too as a lieutenant. And so all those leadership things that you talk about, I absolutely love. That was me in a nutshell. What Walt shared with you, that's who I was. I was the guy who wanted to lead teams. I always wanted to be out front. I always wanted to lead soldiers and the like. And so when I made the decision to get out, it was really about, wow, what is it that I want to do? And I had no idea because, like most of you, I had no idea what corporate jobs meant. I didn't know human resources from anything else. So I spent some time learning and educating myself about what is it that people do in corporate America. So, like, hey, I know there's an operational component. I know there's sales, and I know there's these other things, marketing and all these other places, but I had no idea. So what I did when I started my transition, I had a good friend of mine who was a Naval Academy grad at the time, and he said, man, I get a chance to manage the Coca-Cola building in New York City. I'm like, that's pretty cool. Commercial real estate. So I thought about that. And in fact, on my own, I reached out to a company called Trammell Crow because I wanted to live in Dallas. So I made the fatal mistake of saying, yeah, I want to go to a specific location. So I went to Dallas, had never lived in Texas before. The closest I'd been in Texas was Oklahoma. And what I learned was, wow, if you present yourself the right way and you link up with the right people, so that networking is really critical, and you position yourself the right way, you get a shot. And I go, wow, that was pretty cool. So I actually got an offer from them, but I was like, whoa, do I really want to do that? I don't even know what the rest of the world does. And so then I went to one of these hiring conferences that military folks put on, and next thing you know, I'm talking to companies about sales and operational jobs. And so then, of course, at that conference, I got like 8 offers. And so imagine being confused. I was like, okay, so what do I do? I was like, well, sales, you can eat what you kill. And that's a pretty good perspective for me, because I'm like, look, that means if I want to eat a lot, I got to go kill a lot. So that's simple logic to me, right? And so I wound up net taking a route, because I had such trust with this group of people. Taking my initial job was as a recruiter for Lucas Group. And all I did was go source military candidates. I would fly around to different places in the sort of my region in the Midwest. And I would go do these seminars and teach guys how to talk about their experiences from the military and translate those things into things that people would want in corporate America. Then we would prepare you and take you through these hiring conferences and get opportunities for you. So I did that for about 4.5 years, and I was pretty good at it. I mean, I ate a lot because it was 100% commission. And by the way, there's nothing like seeing your first paycheck in which it shows that you have negative money, that i.e. you owe money because you haven't earned enough in commission yet. I'm like, this is bananas, because again, I didn't know anything. So I was like, all right, so net, I made it to executive senior partner there, and I also went to grad school part-time and said, look, I want to go beyond just being a recruiter, because I do think that there are opportunities out there for me. So I connected with a guy who was, a former Army guy at Frito-Lay, and he recruited me to go to Frito-Lay. He said, look, I need some help with recruiting, and you've been doing this recruiting thing, and we want to create this internal approach to being an internal search firm. And I was like, sure, sign me up. I took a cut in pay, ironically, because I was 100% commission and I was killing it. But then I took this cut in pay because I wanted to get to a big company and expand from where I was. And so I spent 3 years at Frito. One assignment was in recruiting, and you guys will laugh, because one of the things that we did, we made internet recruiting popular at Frito-Lay and Pepsi, if you can believe that. Now everything's, we had Monster and the like, and I was the guy that took over this project and gave us the ability to recruit leveraging the internet. It's like, wow, the internet is going to be the savior for recruiting and everything else we do. So it was great. So we killed it. I got promoted to my first executive job, and I was excited. I was like, wow, I got promoted. This is the way it should work. And then I went to the field, and I worked in a manufacturing facility. Now, mind you, when I was there, one of the things that I can say throughout every role that I've had, every company that I've worked for, I've at least hired 1, 2, 10, 15, 50 veterans, because I was either in charge of those programs or I brought along veterans with me. Why? Because I knew their character, I knew their capability. Once you gave them a shot, I knew what they would be able to do. And once you gave them the right mentoring that Walt mentioned, it was easy for me to sort of sell that story. So my favorite story, and I'll tell you this really quick one, at Frito-Lay. So there were, I recruited 3 vets in probably the span of, I'm going to say, 90 days. Okay. 2 happened to be Air Force guys, both played football at the Air Force Academy, and 1 female that went to West Point. So I recruited her, and it was easy. And what happened was I was given a challenge by the leaders. They said, look, by the way, they don't have any experience. I said, well, listen, if you spend the time to teach them these things, I guarantee you'll see great success. And so net, all 3 of them got hired. One of them stays in touch with me even to this day, because she was the head of talent for Grainger, head of talent acquisition for Grainger years ago. So, but there are numerous examples I can provide over my years of whether they were officers or enlisted retirees and not retirees. I helped a lot of people and find careers in corporate America. I also I left my role with Frito, and I went to Harrah's Casino. And Harrah's was pretty interesting. I was like, wait, this is entertainment business. Unfortunately, I hated the business. It was a horrible business for me. So I moved from Dallas to Kansas City. I had just recently gone through a divorce, and I became a single dad. And so here I am with 2 kids, in high school, and all of a sudden, every holiday and every weekend, I'm at work, and you know what they're doing? Doing what their dad would have done back in those days. They had parties. And so they had a great time. you know, and I could tell you more about my experience in Kansas City, but so net, I stayed there for about 18 months and said, yeah, this is not the right fit. However, again, I learned a great deal there. I got a chance to lead a team of casino hosts. I also had the opportunity to sort of lead this operational team. And so it was a great experience for me. And again, adding value everywhere I went, even though it was for a short period of time. And then I went to Limited Brands in Columbus, Ohio. And there, it started out with Bath and Body Works as the head of HR for creative functions. And so what was interesting about this is really the first time that I had worked with women. I had never worked with women that were in senior leadership positions. So, and this is the first time I also worked with the LGBT population as well. So this was a shock to my system because, again, Army guy, male-dominated environment. Frito was the same way. And then you go, to the casino business, same sort of dynamic. And so now I got to work with women. I'm going, holy shit, pardon my French. I said I wasn't going to curse, Candy. I'm sorry. Kevin, I'll buy you a beer when I see you, my friend. But in all seriousness, what it did for me, it forced me to rethink how I thought about leadership and how I led. And it forced me to be more collaborative because I learned so many great things from the ladies that I worked with about listening more than always having a point of view, about getting everybody's perspective, and about, understanding the dynamics of body language. So all those things I learned from these great women leaders that I was able to partner with. Then I was the head of stores HR for Express. And again, I took veterans with me, which was really cool. A few guys that I'd worked with before in prior lives, 3 of them came to work with us. And, a few of us did really well, and we stayed connected. So I left there and I got recruited to go to USAA. And part of the reason why I made the decision to go to USAA was due to the fact that, again, I was a USAA member for, since 1985. So I knew the organization. I felt good about their mission and knew what it was. And it was a mission-driven company. And so that was an easy decision because I remember being at Express and one of the leaders stood up and says, yeah, this lady was really passionate about how the clothes made her feel. And I go, how shallow is that? That clothes make you feel better than you feel as a person. I was like, yeah, I think I need more in my career. I need something more mission-driven. And so it just so happened that I went to USAA and spent about 8 years there. One of the things I did do before it was really popular and sexy was I got tasked by the CEO for setting up a veterans hiring initiative. And so it included a junior military officer program, hiring enlisted, and hiring flag officers as well. So I put together the framework for that, categorize veterans in different ways to say, you take a guy like me, I'm a veteran with corporate experience, so I call the category a Vet C. And if folks are coming directly out of the military, these are the kinds of roles that they may take on as an entry-level position in your company. So left ADP with the First Data, and the reason why I was chatting with James Perduto is that we went to First Data at the same time. So I left USA in San Antonio, Texas, went to First Data, and James and I got a chance to work together there, and it was a blast. We set up a few veteran hiring initiatives because that was his responsibility, and I also had responsibility for talent acquisition, talent management, all the leader development stuff as well. And unfortunately, culture is so important, and that culture did not fit with my work ethic and the way I like to do things. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be here very long. But again, I had an impact where I was. And so I got recruited then to go back to San Antonio, ironically, after moving to Long Island, New York. And by the way, I'll tell you a funny story about my son at some other point. But that was a great decision for me because now I was the head of HR for an organization. I got a chance to sort of lay out the strategy for HR. Again, I hired veterans because we had a great staff there, and many of the folks, ironically, were people that I had placed when I was at Lucas Group into this job at Harlan Clark Holdings, which was just, it was the world coming full circle for me to see these folks that we placed in leadership jobs at these companies, okay? And then, of course, the last stop was got recruited to come to ADP, and I had sworn to my wife, I said, you know what? I'm never going to move to the East Coast again. We're going to stay here in Texas. Life is simple. I can have my guns and not have people tell me I can't have them. But, net, I got an opportunity potentially to be the head of HR here. It didn't pan out. So I got the consolation prize to be the chief talent officer. Prior to that, I was the head of HR for our small business solutions and also our human resources outsourcing business. And again, I put in practice a veterans hiring initiative with my team, along with Harris's predecessor as well. So net, I'm here to tell you that, a few things. I've been very fortunate and very blessed because I kept taking risks. I kept moving, and I was not geographically restricted. I am now because I kind of actually, in a weird sort of way, love New Jersey. I never thought I would say that in a million years, but it's actually a great place to be. So a few things I want to remind you of. Number one, where you start is not where you finish. So if you rewind back to me telling you my first job was with Lucas Group, years ago, I never saw myself in these roles because, again, I didn't know enough about corporate America. The second thing I will tell you, just accept the fact that you don't know everything and you've got to ask questions. You got to educate yourself about what it is you want to do. And again, many of you may decide to go back to school. Some of you may decide not to go to school, but find the opportunity that's going to help you at least gain some skills so you can think about your next opportunity where you can do well. Mentors are critically important. You've got to have people that can give you a perspective and guidance along the way. Even to this day, I have a mentor. He works for a company called Korn Ferry, and he was my boss at Frito-Lay. We talk all the time. Anytime I have a major career decision, I call him and I ask him and say, hey, what do you think about this? Here's what I'm thinking. What are your thoughts? And he gives it to me straight. He said, yeah, that's not a good move, or that's a bad idea. And I take his, advice, and the times in which I haven't taken his advice, they backfire, right? So pay attention to the signals that people are giving you and what you're trying to do. And the last thing that I will tell you, last two things I'll tell you is this. There is no group of people that's better equipped to deal with the times that we are in. No better group than veterans. Here's what I mean. So think about crisis, right? COVID became this huge, crisis. And I was like, you know what? There's a unique group of people who've dealt with these situations like this, right? And they're called veterans and spouses. Think about deployment. I mean, how many times have we been deployed or, been told to hurry up and wait and go do things in which, you had these multiple phases of a crisis that happened, i.e., the initial shock was, oh boy, you're getting deployed, okay? And then the second phase was you got into country and you normalized and things became, you figured out how to survive in that environment. And then the third phase was reentry when you had to come back home, And so who better to do those kinds of things than a group of veterans who've done that? And so what's interesting is how you apply your skills that you learned in the military. So when we had our crisis, and we've been out of the office since March, one of the things I did, I talked to my team. I said, by the way, this reminds me of, getting in trouble at West Point, and I had to sit in my room, but it also reminds me of getting deployed. And so what they did was, I said, I want you to put together a program that lays out the phases of a crisis and what leaders need to do in those phases of a crisis. Lo and behold, they did it. And it was all based on my experiences of deployment, okay? Now, and the second thing I will tell you about that's really critical that you're uniquely skilled to deal with is this notion of diversity and social injustice, okay? If you think about what we did in the military, the fact that we took kids like me from East St. Louis, Illinois, one of the shitholes in America for sure. There's no question about it. It's a great place to be from, right? And you take a guy from West Texas and you take him with a guy from Arizona or a Mormon from, Utah, and you put all these folks together in this blender and you tell them, figure out how to get along, figure out how to work together because the mission that you're serving is bigger than where you're from and what your skin color is. So imagine the power in your ability to really influence corporate America and all those around us in these various communities and what you do. So I'll stop there. And, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. And I'm open for questions.
Listen, Bob, all that. Listen, guys, everything that you've shared is exactly why we are doing these 50 strong sessions, because the insights that you have and your own experiences by sharing that, we hope is helping, for folks that have been with us in the past. They've heard Kevin talk about calling off our wedding because he didn't know how to find a job, right? And the kind of the psychological impact, certainly as a spouse, I felt that, right? And so what we're hoping is that, just having these sessions every week that people can opt into and out of, the exposure and the experience and the knowledge that you're all sharing is incredibly helpful. I do want to say there is one person that was not able to join us that, as far as I'm concerned, is here with us in spirit. And I want to introduce Laura Lynn Smith, who is not able to join us. But, Bob talked about the culture of ADP. And Laura Lynn, I want to tell you a story about Laura Lynn because I think it also communicates the culture that I've personally seen with ADP. So Laura Lynn Smith, I met Laura Lynn 2.5 years ago. And we met at a career fair, a veteran career fair. And I handed her my business card. And she was like, "Oh, are you married to Kevin by chance?" Lo and behold, I am. And it turned out that Kevin and her husband had worked together on a community project the year before. And so Laura Lynn and I kind of struck up this relationship. And anytime I ever had ideas of, hey, here, let's try this in the veteran space. Let's try this in the student veteran space. Laura Lynn was the first to be like, yep, let's do that, right? And so I met Laura Lynn 2.5 years ago. She introduced me to Harris, who's in New Jersey. And really, we now have all these great individuals and ADP as a sponsor, and it really started with a relationship with Laura Lynn. The other part that I'll tell you is, as it relates to culture, I mentioned Luke Air Force Base, and maybe, I don't know if you heard the jets. I was trying to be on mute for a minute, but right before COVID hit, Luke Air Force Base had a career fair here in the West Valley of Phoenix. What I'll share with you all is that Laura Lynn Smith was the highest ranking business leader at any company that was personally at the career fair at Luke Air Force Base. And it speaks volumes to ADP's commitment to employment for service members, veterans, and military spouses. So Laura Lynn could not be here with us today, but I just wanted to kind of share that because it communicates the culture. And Harris, maybe at this point, I'll pull up the slides just to talk a little bit more about ADP, if that's okay.
Sure, absolutely.
All right.
So what kind of time do I have, Candy? I can do this as quick as needed.
Listen, we have 35 minutes left. So maybe Harris, take 10 minutes or so. Let's see if there's questions. And then we'll also turn it over to Nick and Dustin to talk about Pepsi and Ricoh.
Perfect. All right. So, a lot of the discussion we had here and a lot of the things you've heard, it's important to understand companies. There's a lot of options out there for all our veterans and military spouses for what you want to do next. What I'm going to try to do in the next 9 minutes is go through and just give you a little bit of background. And for the ADP team, jump in if there's something you want to add, please. So we're founded in 1949, over 800,000 clients, give or take a few on any particular day. We've got I think right now we got about 58,000 employees worldwide, about half in the US and half outside of the US. 1 out of every 6 Americans gets their paycheck through ADP. And so, payroll's a big thing of what we do, but it's not the only thing we do. So, I know these slides will go out afterwards and you can dig into it as you go. So, but next slide, if we could. So, what is ADP? I think we like to consider ourselves a technology company that does human capital management. And, what exactly is human capital management? You can see a few of the items there in purple, but the way I like to think about it, it is everything from hire to retire that has to happen. That could be benefits administration. It can be payroll. It can be time and attendance, talent management. We do all of those things, not only for ourselves, but also for our clients of all different sizes. And so as you think about the types of things that you're looking to do, understand that, human capital management covers a lot of things, and you may not see that when you look at a quick thing that comes in your email or whatever. And so the importance of understanding the companies is really important. Next slide.
Sorry, Harris, hang on.
It's okay. Again, here are some of the types of things that we touched about, the products and solutions that we provide to our clients. And I think that a lot of these things resonate with the military community, because I think that we are all HR kind of people in the military. And so there's a good fit for a lot of military coming into a company like ADP. Next slide. All right, so this is one of those things. The first time I ever went into a company was after I got out of the military after 21 years for that first interview that I went to. I didn't really know what's behind the curtain. I just knew the name of the company and the job that I applied to. But what I'm hoping to do is be able to show you all a little bit about how we're organized. So most companies are going to have some type of sales and marketing, if not all. Our businesses are broken down into the size of our clients. So, you know, Bob had previously been an HR business partner within our small business services organization. And they're like 1 to 49 employees. It could be a mom and pop shop. It could be a lawn mowing service. It could be anything that has a small number of employees. Our major account services, which is where Walt currently works, they are the next sizes up. It could be anywhere from 50 to basically 1,000 employees. They have kind of two parts to their organization. And then your national account services are going to be those companies that are larger. They may be multinational. They have complicated compliance and things that they need to do around the world. And ADP will provide those kind of services and products to help them manage all of that. As you can imagine, compliance solutions is big in the HR world. Rules are always changing, and it's our job to stay in front of that and help our clients understand those changes and incorporate it into their ongoing business. We obviously have a technology group. Everything we do is technology based. Our products are provided through technology, and so we have a large group that does that and has a world-class products that we provide. We have groups that provide shared services across all of our businesses. And then we have a global business transformation. So always trying to keep the business front and center and coming up with new things. And then your normal corporate functions, human resources, finance, legal, strategy, all of those exist within ADP. So as you think about what it is you want to do as somebody that's getting ready to get out of the military or leaving college or military spouse, this hopefully gives you a sense of what's behind the curtain of what we call ADP. Right?
Yeah, and Harris, if I can offer a couple quick comments. One is about typically the way we're organized is around those platforms that Harris mentioned. So you have a simple platform called Run for our small business solutions. You have for our major accounts, you have a platform called Workforce Now. For our upmarket clients, you'll have multiple solutions because we are also a global organization. The other quick thing that I would mention is that you think about our business units where we generate revenue, so to speak, you have service and implementation roles. And what those service and implementation roles are is, you know, once a client buys it from our process, they go through an implementation process because we have to quote, implement our technology and teach you how to use that system. And then you get service after a period of time. You go to and partner with the service organization as you need to upgrade and make changes. So tremendous opportunities, a great place to start and a great place to learn our business. And by the way, our sales force is certainly known as an academy sales force because many of the folks who sell at ADP because of our training go on and you know, if they don't succeed at ADP, they go out and they do really well in other places as well. So I just wanted to share that with you guys to give you context.
Thanks, Bob. Next slide, Kenny. All right, so one of the things we talked about, and I think it's really critical, is you do your next search of what you're going to do next. You know, I firmly believe that the values that we have all gained from the military probably happened when we were at a pretty young age, and they're the values that are going to stick with us for life. Those are formative years when we're, you know, usually 18, 19, 20, and beyond, depending on how long you stayed. And those values are deeply ingrained in who we are as individuals. And as you go out looking to the next company that you want to go work for, it's absolutely critical that you're aligning your values to the values of that company. And so these are the ADP things. I'm sure that many of these resonate with all of you in the audience. But it really, really is important. And how do you find out about this? How do you understand this? You need to network, you need to talk, you need mentors to help give you the inside scoop on what these companies have to offer. And it's one thing to put it on a slide, it's a whole nother to that the company is living those values. And the way you find that out is through that networking that, you know, Candy and many others will drive home. So this is just a quick slide. You know, one of the big things for us and one of those values is social responsibility. And so we have our Military Strong and Allies Business Resource Group. We've got 22 chapters across the US. And, you know, these are just some pictures from the various events that they go out. They go out to career fairs. They'll help out with that. They'll help out with panels, you know, for diverse panels. We'll try to get veterans onto those interviews to make sure that they can help with translating the skills that you're bringing into corporate America. They'll do Habitat for Humanity and many other nonprofit organizations that we work with across the country. So just give you a sense of it. Next slide. Just as important for us, and Bob touched on it earlier, so I'm not going to dive real deep into it, but you know, diversity and inclusion is a very important part of ADP, and it's part of our core and what we believe in. We want everybody to bring their best self to work every day. And so we embrace diversity and inclusion, which includes the veteran population. On the right, you can see some of our business resource groups that exist. We've got, 9 of them there that are in place, and you can join any of them. You join as many of them as you want. It's a great way to network once you're inside the company. And we also see on the right side, we've got this BRG Connect mentoring program, which we've rolled out, and it's a way for you as a veteran coming into the company to find either a veteran to mentor you or a non-veteran, because I think they all can provide different perspectives that are extremely valuable as you make that transition. So next slide. How am I doing, Candy? Am I almost there? All right. So
Sorry,
this is,
I was on mute. You're doing great, Harris.
okay.
Thank you.
So the DoD Skill Bridge program, we've mentioned it. Walt has been a big part of that. We just started piloting it in our Tempe office. We've got our 2 first starting on the 26th of this month. And so we are planning on doing a lot more. And what I would tell the audience about this particular program, like I would be lying to you if I said that this is an easy market to find a job right now. It's not an easy market. And if you're a veteran who's getting out of the military and have an opportunity to take advantage of this program, it is the ultimate opportunity to find your way into a company. Many of the companies may not be hiring as much as they were in the past. And so what a great opportunity for you. And I can probably pitch it over to Walt, real quickly, given that he's out in our Tempe offices and has been a part of these interview processes. So we continue to look for additional people. Did you have any thoughts, Walt, that you want to throw in?
No, thanks, Harris. Yeah, first of all, I can't tell you guys how excited I am to see the fruition of piloting the skill bridge and having 2 folks ready to go. One thing that's fantastic from a corporate entity environment is you guys are still active duty, and so you're still getting paid. And so it's an opportunity to really get you guys acclimated and make sure that the culture, the job, what you're going to do on the day-to-day matches with what you want to do long-term. But it does it in a way that, both parties can make a future commitment. And so the intent long-term is hopefully everybody loves it. And we bring everybody on full time. And I think to Harris's point, we've got implementation roles, we've got service roles, and those are 2 of the 3 life cycles of what we do, from sales to implementation to service. That's that life cycle of what we do for clients. So I couldn't be more excited. There's a lot of opportunity in the Tempe area, and the hope is, we're going to set the tone for ADP, and we'll roll these out to the other 5 one ADP facilities long term.
Absolutely.
I want to take this time to brag on the ADP team a little bit. So I mentioned Laura Lynn Smith, and Laura Lynn and I had a conversation about Skill Bridge at that career fair at Luke Air Force Base in February. And this team, kind of spearheaded by Harris and Walt, who's working locally, really has just kind of jumped in to think about what can this look like. And so I want to thank you both so much. It was an honor for me to be a part of this. And do you guys foresee that this may expand to other areas? Like, can you talk a little bit about that, Harris?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just quickly go through our largest offices around the United States are in military towns. So we have a large office in Fort Bliss, Augusta, Georgia, Fort Gordon. Out there in Arizona, obviously with Luke Air Force Base. We are in Louisville, Kentucky, which is just up the street from Fort Knox. Norfolk, Virginia. So, the naval base there. And then also down in Orlando and Miami. These are large offices for us. And those would be the kind of locations where we would look to continue to grow out these positions. It's a match made in heaven for us. And we know, the amazing talent that it'll bring in as well. So we look forward to, in the coming months, to being able to roll out to additional locations.
Yeah, Harris, I just want to add one thing on that. And for the veterans or the spouses, the amazing thing about the locations Harris is talking about, 1, military-centric areas, but 2, they're very large areas. So our building in Tempe can hold up to 1,600 people. I think we're about 1,500 right now. And so every one of those locations have a military strong group attached to that. And so there'll be a lot of help for you guys as you guys really learn and make that transition into corporate America to make it as seamless as possible. So I want to make sure I just call that out for you guys that are still in this phase of trying to figure out what it is you want to do. It's a really good opportunity.
Awesome. And then I think the last slide is the next one. And just that, what you'll see here, we've got our military talent community. I highly encourage you, those that are on the line, please go to that link, sign up, put your name in, and, you will be on our radars and, look for jobs that might be of interest to you. So we've got plenty open right now. We are hiring. And so you can take a look there and see what we have.
Awesome.
All right, Candy, that's it.
Thank you so much, Harris and Walt. I really, really appreciate that. Nick, I'll turn it over to you to talk for a few minutes about Pepsi.
Absolutely. Thanks, Candy. So here's some ways that you can follow Pepsi's frontline careers for veterans on social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and there'll be some job postings on there. And it's kind of a new effort engaging veterans through social media for Pepsi Frontline. So it's starting to grow. There's going to be more things coming up, more veterans, like videos on some of the jobs and things. And then as we start being able to travel more and I hit more events, we'll be looking to kind of get some coverage of those as well. If you go to the next slide, Candy. So these are the things that we're most often hiring for. And these are frontline roles. So these are individual contributor roles at Pepsi. And again, we're generally hiring these all the time. And I just wanted to highlight a few of them. The top 3, the sales reps, the merchandisers, and delivery drivers are not only they're super important to Pepsi because they're the folks who are getting the product out in the hands of consumers. The sales reps are the ones that go into the stores. They're making sure that, the stores have the product they need. The stores are, aware of new product offerings. They're the ones going in there making sure that, the sales are up and the consumers are aware of the kind of deals we have going on. And merchandisers are kind of the same thing, less of a sales role, but more about, making sure that that product in that venue is well represented to the customers, right? So like when you go into a big store, like a Sam's or a Walmart or a Costco, and you see that big display made out of 12 packs of Pepsi, that's a merchandiser that did that. Those are the folks that are really making sure our product's well represented. And then the delivery drivers do a little bit of both of those as well. The delivery drivers are the ones that are making sure they're delivering the product to the store. It requires a CDL Class A license, but it's not a big rig. It's what they call like a day cab, right? It's a local job. To give you an idea of what the pay range is for some of these. So like the delivery drivers, depending on the area of the country, they start from anywhere from 33,000 a year up to 70 currently for what we have. That's to start. Average is about 48,000. Merchandisers, they're averaging about 48,000 a year to start, and sales reps, they're averaging about the same thing. But these are good ways to join the company and really learn the business of getting Pepsi to consumers. And as with anything, there's levels to everything, right? So sales reps may start off where they have what we call like gas station convenience stores, right? They'll have a bunch of those they're responsible for. Next level up might be grocery stores. You have big box stores where you have fewer accounts, but more to do with each one. That leads into sales leadership roles where now you're in charge of, a geographic area of sales, or you may have a big account. So like Sam's or Walmart or Dollar General or whoever, they have an account manager for Pepsi, right? And that's a job with a lot of responsibility. And those lead up to, bigger and bigger roles. And then the other ones are more of our technician roles. So like our electromechanical technicians, they're working on production equipment. Same thing, the maintenance technicians, they're working on the manufacturing equipment and making sure it's moving. And then fleet technicians, those folks are, our diesel mechanics fixing the trucks. Electromechanical technicians, average starting pay is $60,000 a year. Our fleet technicians average is $51,000 a year to start. And then we have some other technician roles, depending on your skill level. And again, those things, there's levels to it, right? As a fleet technician, the more ASE certifications, the more experience you have, the more it pays. And these things lead into progressive roles of responsibility. Like a fleet manager is in charge of that whole fleet of vehicles, right? That's an important job. And that leads into other things. We have, I worked with a leader at a career fair in San Antonio last year. He's a veteran, started off as a fleet technician. Now he's a regional fleet manager. That's a pretty important job. That's, getting up there in the hierarchy, and that's a lot of scope of responsibility. And also, in addition to these frontline roles, which we hire a lot for, we're a Fortune 100 company. So Pepsi has all the same corporate jobs any other large corporation has, right? There's the HR folks. There's some IT people. There's, various leadership roles throughout the company. So in addition to these frontline roles, we have what we call more the professional exempt type roles. I would tell veterans, and I have this conversation a lot, no matter who you are or what you did in the military, don't shy away from an individual contributor role. I will tell you that there are a lot of individual contributors in corporate America who are very influential people and who are very well compensated. That's it for the slides for me, Candy. Just real quick.
Listen, I love that you made that point about individual contributor in corporate. I myself have been an individual contributor for almost 20 years and also have, I think, had a lot of influence. And I think sometimes folks coming out of the military, they think about, well, how many people am I going to manage? And so
Yeah.
influence is a very informal thing, if you will, in corporate.
Yeah. That's all. I just wanted to talk about individual contributors for a couple of minutes before I pass it over to
Great.
Dustin.
It's great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So Dustin, I'm going to hand it over to you for a few minutes. Dustin, I just need 5 minutes at the end to do the gift card giveaway. So you've got kind of 8-ish minutes, if you don't mind.
I talk super fast, so we'll make this good and short. I clocked it out earlier at about 15, so I'll shorten that. I'll shorten that by 7 minutes. So I wanted to start by just explaining a little bit about Ricoh, who we are, what we look for. So we're headquartered in Pennsylvania, and throughout the United States, Canada, and Latin America, we employ about 30,000 employees just in those 2 continents alone. So we value our employees above all else. We're always looking for talented people, and we truly feel that those qualified candidates that we see coming out of the United States Armed Forces are those kind of candidates that we're looking for. In 2018, Ricoh was awarded the Excellence in Partnership Award due to its veteran outreach, with over 100% year-over-year increase in veteran hiring. And like Walt and Harris said, due to those characteristics, work ethic, dedication, integrity, leadership, adaptability, dependability. Those are just a few of the traits that we feel that veterans bring to the table. And it's the values that we look for in all of our employees. So we believe that the characteristics that drive veterans to excel in our workplace has led to a lot of success with veterans moving into those higher level positions within the company. You can go ahead and switch the slide, Kim. So a little bit about what Ricoh actually does is we deliver products, services, and solutions to help companies make the most of their information and to work faster, smarter, and more successfully. I know this looks like a little bit of a confusing organizational chart, but to break it down for you, it's document workflow, office printing and imaging equipment, audio visual collaboration technologies, production print solutions, IT and technical support services, and a lot of those target healthcare facilities, legal offices, higher education, and so many other industries. And those are broken down into 3 main categories. I was going to go into them in a little more in depth, but I won't do that. So the 3 main ones are IT, finance, and operations. So throughout the U.S. right now, we have a little bit over 200 open availabilities, and we target the geographic locations like Texas, Virginia, Florida, Washington, South Carolina, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Tennessee, Arizona, Indiana, Illinois, California, and we also offer remote positions. So if anybody's looking anywhere in one of those states, please reach out to me and I'll do my best to help you out. So we try to target those profiles based on hiring volumes and placements that we've had a lot of success with. And you can go to the next slide, Candy. So those are the technology service support roles, field support representatives, on-site service specialists, site managers and site supervisors, and mailroom and courier roles, which are a little more entry-level positions. So if you're in the reserves of the National Guard and you're just getting started off in your career, or if you're a short-timer in the military and you're getting started off in your career, it's a really great opportunity to learn the ins and outs of the company and also to make those connections. So we have legal-related support roles. We've hired some paralegals from the military to fill those roles, and it's been really, really successful. So we have warehouse supervisors, associates, and lead warehouse associates. And we also offer print support specialists. And you can switch side. So here is just a few companies that we work with and try to connect with strong veteran candidates, as well as spouses. And some of these different organizations also host events for us that we can engage in conversation, like Recruit Military. And I know Nick has probably done 50 Recruit Military events this year alone. So we know they're a lot of fun, and it's a really great way to connect with a lot of great veterans. And you can switch the side.
Hey, I'll send you a 50 strong logo to add to that, okay?
Hey, I love that. So these are just a few quotes that we have from some of our veteran employees that really shows the commitment that we have to hiring prior service and military spouses. So our commitment to veterans go far beyond just compensation. We like to take care of our employees with really great benefits, healthcare, retirement savings plans, paid holidays and PTO, employee assistance programs, and really so much more. So I'm trying not to ramble, Candy, I apologize, but you can switch to the next slide. So I wanted to give a little bit of advice that I like to give to a lot of veteran candidates that I'm speaking to, and it's just going to take me a second. So if you're going to be looking at roles of Ricoh, you want to make sure you meet 100% of the basic qualifications in the job description before even considering applying for the role. And then once you're looking at those preferred qualifications, try to meet about 50 to 75%. And talking about those preferred qualifications, when you're reviewing your resume, tailor your resume to highlight those preferred qualifications that are within that job description. It's all laid out for you right there. You can bring out your skills to show that you can do every preferred qualification that's on there. And feel free to apply them to more than one opening. I usually suggest 2 to 3. And email me. Let me know if you're interested in a position, and I'll do everything that I can to at least try to get you an interview. And if that interview doesn't go well, I'll find you something else, I promise. But that's all I had in a nutshell.
Awesome, Dustin. Thank you so much. Walt, Harris, Bob, Dustin, Nick, we really appreciate you guys all being here and just sharing a little bit about not only what your companies have to offer in the culture, but just a little bit about yourselves personally. I've been watching, for all of you that are listening in, I think all of them have put in their LinkedIn profiles and or even some email addresses in the chat box. This is an awesome opportunity, so take them up on their offer. So for today's giveaway, we have a $100 Amazon gift card. For those of you that may not know, Amazon is one of our 4 series sponsors working with us to make this entire series possible. So here are the rules for today's gift card. We have a couple minutes left. Kev, I'm gonna need your help with this if you don't mind. So we have one $100 Amazon gift card. If you have been on a series before and you have won a gift card, please let somebody else win this time. So here's the rules. The 4th person to type the right answer to the question that I'm about to pop up. Kev, where do they need to type the right answer?
QA box.
Into the Q&A box. So we're keeping an eye on the Q&A box. Only the panelists see this. So the 4th person to type the right answer to this question is going to win. So in the September 10th session of 50 Strong, we had Kevin Werdy, who is the military talent acquisition lead at Deloitte, who is also one of our series sponsors. He's led a session called Demystifying the Civilian Recruiting Process. In that session, Kevin described 4 key funnels into companies. They were campus recruiters, experienced recruiters, and veteran recruiters as the first 3. If you've been listening today, you also have hints on what the 4th one might be. But there were 4 funnels that he described as to how to get into companies. The 4th person to type in the 4th funnel that he described is going to win the $100 Amazon gift card. So starting now.
The suspense is killing me.
All right, I've only got one answer that's right so far. Okay, so Kev, I'll make, uh-oh, there they are. All right. Hey, Kev, there's a right answer to this, and only one person has gotten the exact right answer so far. So Stephen Marzan, congratulations. You just won a $100 Amazon gift card. The right answer is referrals. So some of you also put in networking, totally okay, but it's specifically referrals. And so Stephen, we'll send you that gift card shortly after this. For those of you that are on the call listening in, referrals equal networking plus relationships. And so I want to give you 2 really quick pieces of advice. Again, we had a whole session of 50 Strong that was about how to leverage LinkedIn. But today I want to give you kind of some scripted ideas for how to do networking plus relationships in order to get referrals. So our first session, I literally showed you like how to use LinkedIn to find people in specific companies. And I gave you a template for how you might reach out to start building a relationship. Also, my friend Natalie also just shared on LinkedIn today. She shared a networking script that you could literally use, copy and paste, to start reaching out to build those relationships in your network so that when you need referrals, you can get them. I encourage you to take advantage of both of these. A couple of friendly reminders. I have 4 minutes left. You guys, LinkedIn is really important. If you don't know where to start, again, there's lots of resources out there, but we do have a replay specifically for this. Building your brand on LinkedIn is really important. Finding your tribe of mentors. Every one of our speakers has talked about the importance of mentorship. Listen, I don't care which platform you use. I don't care if you do it informally. Just please get a group of people that you trust that can help guide you. Please continue engaging directly, early, and often with those in industry. Again, this is just one platform that you may use for that. Open every single door. My buddy Chris Thorne uses this language. Too often we think that it's like a jobs vending machine and you just press the button and out pops a job. Not going to happen that way. So do not ever wait for a placement. Open every door, and that's a proactive opening of every door for your own employment. Right after this, when we end the session, you're going to see a post-session survey pop up. In that, I'm going to ask you if you want me to share your email address with any of the companies that we've had on today, plus our series sponsors. If you would like to do that, you might have opted in during registration, great, but if not, you have that option and I'll share it with all of these guys. Again, that's not a job, right? But it is at least a way that they can connect with you. If you have gotten benefit out of this session, I ask that you share it, tag 50 Strong, we will respond. Join us every Thursday. We have amazing companies coming in every single Thursday and everybody wants to help, guys. This is the reality. I've never come across a veteran at a company that does not want to help. So with that, I have one piece of advice. My buddy John Cobb shared this on LinkedIn, and he said, what actually happens when you change industries or change careers, you bring all of your past experience with you, you learn faster, you challenge assumptions, and you gain a whole new perspective. So I want to leave you with that. Many of you are in transition. And so I just wanted to leave you at that point. Again, I want to just say a special thank you to all of our university partners. I want to say thank you to all of our speakers here with ADP. Guys, we have a couple of minutes left. Any last words of wisdom that any of our speakers would like to share?
Hey, it's Bob. I would just tell you, enjoy the ride and don't take it too seriously. You'll be fine.
Awesome. Thank you, Bob. Anybody else?
Just get out and talk to people, as many people as you can. You never know where it may lead. You may find yourself in a career field you never imagined. That here I am. Like, I never imagined that I would be running a military recruitment program for a Fortune 100 company. Yet here I am. I love it. So you never know what your thing might be until you get out there and look for it.
Awesome. Thank you, Nick. All right, guys, with that, Kevin and I will be back with you next Thursday. Thank you all so much for being here with us. We really appreciate your time, and we will see everybody soon.
All right.
Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Thanks.
Cool.
Bye.
You guys.
Thanks, 50
See
Strong.
you guys.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you, guys.